I did something dumb. It's not all lining up. The whole mold section behind me is wrong. Lamination time! Running into a couple problems. My entire front section here is actually way too high. You build your own boat like a badass. I think I fucked up.
I have never messed up so many times on a project. It's insane. Over the past month, I've been building a sailboat in my parents' garage, and it is putting me through it. This is just the start of the project, and I have experienced so many failures. It's crazy. Part of that is that I just didn't plan perfectly right off the bat, but a big part of it is also just when you start a project for the first time, there's always mistakes. But this section was definitely a tough one. This is the mold, and it is probably the most important part of the entire project. Everything banks on this being correct, the entire rest of the project. If I get this wrong, the boat will not sail at all, or the way I want it to, or it could break. So I had to be on peak performance this entire project. So what I'm doing right now is I'm building the strongback. This is kind of like a level base for the rest of the project. Everything's going to be built on top of this. It's not super high stakes, but it's definitely, it's definitely an important part. Here I'm setting up a line to make sure everything's center. Super important too. If any of these molds are slightly off course, off center, the whole project's going to be slightly shifted, and you're going to see that. So here you can see me building router templates. The reason why I cut out router templates and use a router in the first place is because if I were to use the jigsaw right on the wood that's going to be my final mold, if you've ever used a jigsaw before, you know the blade doesn't go vertically down all the time. It tends to bend as you build, and so I was trying to avoid that.
That's how we do it, baby.
There we go. I figured out how to actually laminate correctly, glue down paper correctly. That pivot point is definitely going to be used in future builds. So here again, you can see that I'm using these boards. The reason why I use the boards is so that I can maximize the amount of material that I use. Plywood totally, if I were to use plywood for the whole thing, it would totally waste a lot of material. And so I'm able to do it this way. And here we get some router action. Just take it in, enjoy. It's the most satisfying part of the build.
Damn it.
And just like that, 11 molds all ready to be screwed together and assembled. So once I finished these, I began to put them on the strongback, and you'll see that in a minute. But I have a story to tell. So as I'm putting them on, I put them all on backwards, like an idiot. This is one of those dumb mistakes that happens to almost everyone who builds, right? You got this big project, and you're in charge of it, and you're designing it, and there's so many complex steps. But then in the midst of it, you just totally blank, and you end up assembling the whole thing on backwards. This happened to me a couple years ago. I was building a Formula One, like a replica Formula One car during COVID, and I am doing the steering system. So I'm situating it, and I'm formatting it, and I'm trying to figure out how I put it on correctly. I go and I weld it on, completely done, and right as I finish welding, my friend's dad comes in, and he's checking it out, and he's looking at it, and he's like, "Can I try the steering wheel?" He turns the steering wheel left, and the wheels turn right. And that was definitely the most embarrassing story I have of building. It was pathetic.
What the fuck is this guy up to? This guy stinks! So, right now, he's taking everything apart, but he's gonna make this shit work!
Shout out to my boy Ant. He is a legend. I just tagged him, and I'll tag him in the description too. Incredible guy. Great videos. Go check them out. They are wonderful to watch.
Alright, what's up boys? So, as you can see behind me, I got the molds done and they're on the strongback. Super exciting. Kind of. So, you saw that before, I put everything on backwards like an idiot. So I told you that already, but I was changing that up and stuff. So I did that, I flipped it around, it's like a week later or something. And in my head, I was like, you have the whole boat slope at the top, right? And it's kind of going from the bottom end up to the top. So if this is 6 inches up here, and it's referenced here, and then you got 6 inches here, when you lay them flat, it's gonna shift the whole hull. So, the whole mold section behind me is wrong. Yeah, none of it's correct. Essentially, like I might have to take off 3 inches here, I might have to take off 2 inches here, 1 inch here, you know, all the way down. All right, we're back. It's been, how long has it been? It's 2 o'clock. I made the mistake. I found the mistake at like probably 11, something like that. 11:30. So it's been 2.5, 3 hours. Done. It's time to level everything and then, it's planking time.
That's right. It's planking time, baby. And this is the most exciting part of the build, I think. The most visually stimulating. Here you're actually going to see the boat come to life. You can actually see that I got a boat in my garage. And that's pretty freaking cool. As I was using the nail gun, I figured out exactly how to use it correctly and how to make sure every staple goes in. So, watch this technique. Bam! There we go. Pretty impressive, I know. Only way to get the staples in deep enough.
All right, what's up boys? So, messed up again. Essentially, my back mold looked too big compared to my mold in front. So, I started to get this divot because my second to last mold looked too small. Let me show you. Right here is the problem at hand. When you press this down, this whole thing bends. Just like that. No bueno. This back mold is too far back compared to this front mold. But I'm gonna fix that, remount that, take out the nails that I have in it now, and then try it again.
So a big problem I ran into while planking the sailboat was that Home Depot only sells 12-foot long boards, and my sailboat is 16.5 feet. So I needed to find a way to make these boards close to 16.5 feet, you know, a solid board that allows me to get a fair planking job. On this side, I didn't do a great job. I decided to use kind of like a brick system where I'd stagger my planks, but the staggering actually, it didn't help as well as I thought it would. On the other side, you'll see that later in the video that I used a jigsaw to cut slants and kind of scarf jointing. Search it up if you don't know what it is, but that worked much better that time. But here we go. We got a pretty fair looking hull. What I'm doing now is I actually had this old design of my keelson. A keelson is the strong or the backbone of the entire board, and you see that template there. What I'm doing here is I am adjusting my molds because originally I designed not for this large keelson, so I had to go in and basically surgically correct all these mold sections. Here we got some dangerous router work. Do not try that at home. It was kind of dumb, but it worked. So yeah, this was definitely a rough section. I had to cut these all deep enough to have a thick enough keelson. And on the spot, it was a real pain in the ass. So here you can see that old template.
Like this. You see how I'm doing this? Yeah, we fucked up a couple times, but that's fine. It's the first one, you know?
Alright, so I thought I'd record this real quick because my freaking camera is dead. I hope you can hear me. It's like hella dusty in here. But I got through it with this table saw. So it's just a, random old table saw. My vacuum broke. Well, it didn't break, I don't think, but the power went out when I was doing this. But look, I got through it. So there's one done. I'm gonna check if it bends. Hell yeah. As sort of expected, we got a proper bend going. So there we go. Oh yeah, sick.
That was intense. Doesn't help that it's hot out, but I have to do that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more times. So getting through it though, living the dream. Oh yeah, look at that. Alrighty, y'all know what time it is. Lamination time! I ended up going to Harbor Freight and I got me a shit ton of clamps. So I'm about to lay these out, get them all prepared, and then it's time to see what I gotta do with the keelson. So last time we talked about the keelson having these things called I call them myself. I call them wings, right? So you have like a wider keelson base. The idea with that is that I'd be able to bolt to them. Turns out there's a special way to do this that I just never decided to research. That special way is using things called floors. It's really hard to search up because every time you search up boat floors, you get like decking. But I found it. And I think I know, but that's a future problem because right now all I gotta do is laminate this one single stub. Running into a couple problems. What's new? Nothing. So I got my 3-inch on here. This was never the plan though, which means that nothing on the boat is to plan, and I did not get lucky. So I gotta use like a batten to figure out how I need to adjust it. So might be an all-nighter.
There's another mistake. I went in to surgically correct all these, all this stuff, and as you could see, as I was going in with this, this hacksaw, I think it's called, I just, I broke the mold. This is a common problem, and I think it's the problem that everyone kind of runs into on projects like this, where if you don't plan it correctly, you're gonna run into huge, just having to adjust the stuff that you already built. That's exactly what happened to me. Poorly designed, just led to more work later on.
I just lost my video, but bring it down here. What I was stressing was the importance of battens. Let's see. Battens are literally just, a bendy piece of wood that doesn't fold. It bends to a natural curve. Wood bends, this wood is gonna bend. So what I do is I could check whether or not my hull is fair, right? So I gotta check if my boat is smooth. So I line this up down here, and then I line this up here, and I realized there's a huge divot either here because of this region or because of this one here. So what I did was I set up a batten right here and realized that my entire front section here is actually way too high. So now I gotta go in and cut that down. Alrighty. Now she ain't the cleanest, but it don't matter. Go check her out. She done beautifully. That's the beauty of a frickin' batten, baby. Let me show you a little secret weapon I got today. Oh, it's right here. This bad boy, it's so freaking light. So if you buy it and you follow my video and you build your own boat like a badass, or just like a cool person, then you might be getting this. That's my secret weapon. So I don't have to sand it super flat, which works perfectly because it is 10:30. I'm done sanding. 10:30. Time to laminate.
With every mistake, there's a lesson to be learned, and this is the biggest mistake of the project. I knew that I shouldn't have, but I wanted to anyways. It was 10 o'clock, and I really wanted to laminate because this weekend was a bit of a time crunch. I wanted to get as much done in a weekend as possible, and this was Friday night. So I was like, okay, if I laminate now, then I'll have all of Saturday that it dries, and then I can take off the clamps Sunday, and then I can continue working. That way I get everything done, all the lamination done in a weekend. So for context, it was like 86 degrees in the garage. It was super hot. I worked pretty much all day. I came back from actual work, started at 6, finished up, and I just wanted to get it done. My boy Ant told me, yo, don't do it. we'll do it Saturday morning, and I'll help you, and then we'll be good. I didn't listen. I was stubborn, and I was like, I could just get it done, whatever. I've seen it done on YouTube, and so here I go. Starting to laminate, and this is about the time that I get stressed because I'm looking at my bucket and I'm seeing that I barely have any epoxy left. I'm like, how am I going to fill this all up? So I'm going in, and irresponsibly, I tried to laminate every plank. And you could see every surface was wetted, but I knew there was not enough epoxy on it. To make matters worse, once I finished, I started to clamp everything down, and I realized that I just did not have enough clamps. Ran out of clamps midway through, and that's exactly when I started stressing.
Didn't do shit. Oh, now we just have a fucking hole in my thing. Fuck. I think I fucked up. We'll see tomorrow. I bought more wood. I made the executive decision to just start over. Do it again. Can't hurt nothing. It's not permanent on the boat. It's the only thing that I could really get away with fixing. So I'm just gonna do it. So I bought new wood, stripping it down, and getting ready to laminate again. ×2, baby. Yikes.
So Saturday morning, I call up my boy Ant, and I'm like, yo, Ant, bro, it didn't work. I effed up last night. And he was like, damn. And so at that point, I told him I wasn't sure if I was going to redo it. And I then called him up again, and I was like, yo, we got to go to the beach. And he was like, yeah, bro, I knew it. I knew you were going to redo it. So redid it, and cut everything up, laminated everything, cut everything up, sanded everything. And then I called him up, and I was like, yo, can you come over, help me laminate? And I was like, yo, we gotta lock in. We gotta get this shit done. So enjoy the very first ever Keelson lock-in edit.
I'm on a 15 perky, baby. What we finna do?
This motherfucker is locked.
Talking, I'm loving, but don't make a fuss.
Alright, what's up, boys? So as you can see, laminated. I used about 500, okay, well, first of all, first test took 15 minutes to mix it like an idiot. Had no idea. I thought I had to get like that perfect consistency and then go. Turns out that screwed me over, as expected. No biggie. Waste of epoxy, but what are you gonna do? So instead I mixed up another batch. This time I did another 500 grams of epoxy, and I thought that would be enough, and it was. Could have used a bit more, honestly, but I got squeeze out on every seam, which is exactly what I wanted, and I used all my clamps like crazy. But yeah, got the first stage done.
So I knew this project would cost me a lot, and this mistake costed me a lot too. I got this wood from a hardwood supplier down at the beach near me, which is a unique place to have wood, I think. But whatever, it is called sapele. It is an African wood and it is not cheap. For just this keelson mistake, I paid around $400, and so all the wood that I got was very expensive. Could have been avoided, but you know that's the stake that I was put upon. But it was super responsible for me to redo it because this is a huge part of the build. If I mess up this and it doesn't end up working, then it's going to cost me even more money in the future. A lot more money than just $400.
Yeah.
Right.
I think we need to take some time and appreciate the mass amount of clamps there are on this keelson right now. That is also very expensive. Don't cheap out, bro. Get all the clamps you need and get more. I went to my local Harbor Freight store and I bought their entire clamp selection. So part of me feels bad that maybe someone went in and were like, all right, I need some clamps today. I need some C-clamps. And they went in and found that the entire store has been raided by some dumbass building a boat in his garage. So sorry for anyone who went to Harbor Freight near where I live. I'm not going to say where I live, but if your store doesn't have any clamps in it anymore, then you probably know where I live. So, yeah. This is the most satisfying part of the build. Boom. Look at all these planks going in. You can see that scarf joint idea that I was talking about. Much cleaner, much nicer, and as expected, the second take was a lot better than the first.
Alright, we're back to normal. So you saw I took off the keelson. The reason being is that I can now freely plank up these sidings, like mold sidings, up to where the keelson actually sits. Otherwise with the keelson there, it's just kind of like it's in the way. So took it off, then I'm going to plank up to these lines that I drew when I took it before I took off the keelson. And then once it's up to those points, then I'm able to put it back on, and then it's on to shaping of the wood. And then the mold is pretty much done.
Gonna be honest, this was the section that I was kicking myself the most on. As I told you, all my mistakes basically stemmed from poor planning in the computer room, and this was a big part of it. As you can see there with the two clamps, I had to situate each plank in a certain way where it was perfectly formed and battened so that I can then nail it down. See me putting the battens down to really ensure that it's in the correct location before I shoot a nail through it. A pain, yes, but I got through it.
Oh, fuck. Oh.
I cannot tell you the amount of times that happened with the staples. So annoying. And in the worst places. That place was not that bad, but the amount of places that's happened where I had to just kind of stick it through and basically screw up my entire mold. So annoying. Here's the last plank going up before it is in line with the keelson.
Alright boys, I'm officially done. I repaired my design mistake, which if you design it correctly, you'll never get that, but rarely is everything designed correctly. So essentially what I had to do was go in and fill up to the keelson. So I'm going to get the keelson on and then check how everything fits, but yeah, looking good I think.
Now for the final step, putting the keelson back on. Almost dropped it there, but had to recruit my dad for the final. Got it on. I think it turned out great. Please let me know what you think. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking and subscribing, and thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.